Neiman Hao, and welcome to my podcast, Ignite Your Power, the Kathy Mou Podcast. And I am so excited today to have Cindy Witteman with me. She is the founder and CEO of Driving Single Parents Inc., host of Little Give TV show, and has her own podcast called Is Manifesting Bullshit Podcast. And she is a best-selling author. So I am so excited to have her here. So Cindy, say hi and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me on today. I'm just ever so grateful for being able to share a little bit about my story and how I have been able to overcome a lot of challenges in my life.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about your story, how you empowered yourself to become the successful, amazing person. And I always believe that sharing your story is one of the best and most powerful way for people to really understand that they're not alone and that, it's doable, that whatever you want in life is doable. So can you share a little about your story and how it has shaped your life to get to where you are today as freaking amazing author, like CEO of a company and having your own host like show? This is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, it's a story of a struggle, really. So grew up in poverty. So when I was younger, when I was with my mom, I grew up in a single parent home, and sometimes we didn't have electricity, sometimes we didn't have water, sometimes we struggled to find food. So we had a lot of challenges there. So as I grew older, I would, see people and ask them like, how did you get, that car? Or how did you get those nice shoes? Or how do you have electricity? So they would often say, you just have to have a good job, and I'd say, well, how did you get a good job? Well, you have to get an education. So these were things, I didn't know any business owners growing up. I didn't even know anybody who didn't have a house with wheels on it. So I just tried to learn from other people from, like, I remember being 8 years old asking these questions. But as I got older, I found a great idea. I had this light bulb moment, like, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to get married and I'm going to have my white picket fence and everything is going to be perfect. And I'm going to escape this generational poverty that I'm dealing with. Well, that didn't work out the way I had planned.
Oh,
So it ended up being a domestic violence situation. And I ended up, having several children and being in this situation for almost 10 years. And I just always stuck it out for my daughters. I thought, I'm never going to be a single mom. That's a terrible thing. I can be smarter, I can be kinder, I can be quieter, I can clean better, I can cook better, I can do things better to overcome this domestic violence situation. And obviously that wasn't really working out, but the violence wasn't towards my daughters. So I thought it was okay. Like, as long as they were safe, it was fine. But one day I was folding some clothes, watching my daughters, and I was watching Dr. Phil. And Dr. Phil said, it's better to come from a broken home than it is to grow up in one. And literally, the moment he said those words, I stood up, I got a basket of clothes, a bag of diapers, I got my daughters, and we left. And I built a new life for us. I put myself through school. I worked 2 jobs. I would sell plasma just to kind of get, food on the table and make sure that I was not going to end up the loser that my abuser always said I would be. And so that's kind of the beginnings of my story.
oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that and being open and honest with that. That's a big thing to overcome. First of all, wow, that is true empowerment. Like, what was going on in your mind though? Like at the time, were you already thinking of leaving? But like at that moment, before you saw Dr. Phil's show, were you even thinking of leaving or ever having that thought?
No, I really was not thinking about leaving at the time. As far as I can remember, this is many, many moons ago, but I wasn't in a place where I thought I could do that. You think you're a stay-at-home mom, you've got these kids and childcare, and, I didn't have a college education. So and I had this fear, my whole life. I came from a single parent home and it was generations of single parenthood. And I was just promised myself that I would never become a single mom. And then also, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, is the month of May. And one of the things that happen in a domestic violence situation is there's a lot of conditioning that happens where it may not always be the punch in the face that really bothers you. It's that mental abuse where you're being told you're no good, you're stupid, you're trash, you're never going to be anybody. If you ever leave me, you're going to be a loser just like your mama. All of these things that to play against you to make sure that you don't leave. And that was something that really kind of kept me in that situation for a very long time. But it was just a matter of me thinking that I was doing the right thing by my daughters by sticking it out and making it work so my daughters didn't have to have a single mom as their mother and primary giver. So that's really where I was staying. That's what I was staying for. But when he said those words, it was like, wait a minute here. I've been doing this all wrong. I'm here trying to make this good for them, but this is bad for them because this is going to teach them that this is how people are supposed to treat you, and that's not okay.
Yeah, that is wow, you are so amazing. So,
Thank
how
you.
did you go about like doing all of that on your own though? Did you have instances where you were kind of scared and you're like, "Oh man, did I do the wrong thing?" Like some people contemplate, you kind of do things on the spur because that's your true self telling you like, "Okay, yes." But then, our logical mind makes us fearful like, "Oh my God, did I actually do the wrong choice or did I make the wrong choice?" Did you have any of that afterwards once you left?
Yeah, in fact, when I was putting my kids in the car to leave the situation, I was actually strapping my 5-month-old daughter into her car seat, and I thought to myself, like, are we really doing this? Like, wow, you're really going to do this? Like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to get through this? And are you going to be trash? And are you going to be a loser? And where are you going to live? And what are you going to do? So that all of that, but I just stopped myself and just said, you know what? It's either continue this life for longer or it's make the choice now because it's going to have to happen. It can't stay like this. So I just decided, like, you know what? I'm going to prove to my daughters that this can be done. And then we drove away. And of course, working two jobs was not easy. But then immediately I was like, wait a second. I can't be working two jobs my whole life. Like, I can't do that. Like, how I got to get out of this. I can't stay in this like hamster race. What
Yeah,
job could I get to where I could make my daughters proud of me and I could prove that I can stand on my own 2 feet?
yeah,
So I right away the next day I got my own apartment and I started, working two jobs, like I said, and going to college and all the different things. Well, I decided to go to college to be a nurse because I was like, well, that's an admirable job. Like if the kids have career day, they could stand up and say, my mom's a nurse. And then they would maybe forget about the whole single parent part, right?
yeah.
So I went to school and I graduated in nursing, and I did that for a little while. And then I realized I didn't like nursing at all. And so then I started a whole new position. And I really just knew something in me told me that if I really wanted the ultimate goal of freedom, that I was going to have to work really hard in the short term. And then I could excel in the long term. And so I spent a whole year, a little over a year, just really working two jobs, putting myself through school, doing all of these things, just trying to dig myself out of that conditioning I had that I was going to be nobody and nobody would want me.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it took a full year, but you just kept at it. You were determined, and
Mhm.
that's so amazing. Like, look how amazing and powerful you are, and your, partner at the time totally made you think otherwise because you're so powerful. And, through domestic violence in general, they're trying to control you, right? So like they're always
Yeah.
trying to put you down in some way, but you are powerful and you're showing that. But what really actually got you out of that hamster hole of like doing the two jobs and then having your own company, you're a CEO, you're an author? Like how did each one of those things come about into your life? Because you came from nothing, but now you're like, all over. It's kind of like the story of the caterpillar and then growing and forming into a butterfly. That's like exactly what I was thinking when you were telling your story. I was like, "Oh my God, this is so beautiful." So like,
Thank
if
you.
you can do it, I'm sure anybody can too.
Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So what happened next is I was working like all of these hours, and then I ended up at this other job and I was working like 60 hours a week. And my dad, he actually sat me down. He said, Cindy, I know you're making money now and you're able to provide for the girls, but if you keep working like this, you're never going to know them. And he said, you need to think of something, you need to do something different. You need to find a job. And mind you, at this time, I'm like 25 years old. And he's like, you need to find a job that, you can be working, during the week, and you can have nights and weekends and holidays off, and you can get retirement and, benefits, medical insurance, and these things. Otherwise your daughters are not going to know you. And so I was like, okay, but this is that all the other jobs don't pay as much as this one. Like, how am I going to do it? And he was like, you're smart. You'll move up. You'll find a way. So he introduced me to the legal field. So I started working there, and really just within a matter of 3 weeks, I got moved to a better position. And then 5 months later, I got another promotion. And then 8 months later, I got another promotion. And so then I was able to work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, know my daughters. During that time, I had to save my income tax, which was a significant amount of money. And then also I saved up money from my other job and just kind of supplemented my income because I went from making a lot, not a lot of money, a lot of money to me, went from making really good money to making $1,691 per month at this new job. And you mind you, I had three little girls that I had to feed, clothe, shelter. We had our own place. We had a car, that I bought cash, and we had needs. And so I had supplemented my income for a while till I got that promotion. Once I got that promotion at the 8-month mark of me being there, that gave me a little bit of more money that I could work with. But I still continued to sell plasma twice a week because then that gave us that little extra spending money. So I would do this thing with my girls and make it seem like it was a treat. I would say, all right, girls, what would y'all rather have? Would y'all rather have dessert or an appetizer? Which one would y'all rather have? Because the deal is I didn't have the money to take them to our favorite restaurant at the time, which was super high class, Chili's.
Oh,
and and I would take them there, and if they chose an appetizer, we would go there, eat the appetizer, we'd come home, I'd cook dinner. If they chose the dessert, we would eat at home, and then we'd go have dessert at a restaurant. So I could have these little experiences with them, taking them somewhere nice, I thought, and really spending time with them, sitting at the table and whatnot, and showing them that this can be done, like we can do this. And that's why I continued to sell plasma for quite a while after that. But as I moved up, I was able to get myself to a little bit better of a place in my life. And I always knew that when I got to a place where I was like at level, I was going to give back some way. So I ended up founding a nonprofit in 2017, which was 7 years ago. And what we do is we give away cars to single parents in need. So mind you, when I started this nonprofit, I was a single parent myself. I had a car that I paid $3,500 cash for, but I just had this idea at dinner one night. I was like, that's it. I'm going to give away cars to single parents. And I like literally stood at the table and said it. And then within 24 hours, I started the nonprofit. I started the website. I built a business plan, and we started moving. And just a little bit later, we ended up giving away a car less than a month later, less than a month after I had the idea. But the thing is whenever it comes to building out things like this, I feel like for me, it was the greatest gift I ever gave. And it gave me, I call it heart work. And it really did open a lot of doors for me as far as, that those self-limiting beliefs I had of like, who's going to take me seriously about starting a nonprofit when I have this $3,500 car? Well, I'm not in the right place yet. I don't even have all my stuff figured out yet. How am I going to do this? But pushing past that and doing it afraid, that's what really got me to the next level.
wow, that is so amazing. I totally feel you on that because I really believe that too. Like, if you give back to the world, the universe will repay you somehow. And that's what I was thinking in my head, but I would never know how to start a nonprofit again. Like, that's a powerful part of you that you just go and do it. And you're just like, I'm just going to make this happen. And whenever you had that thought come to you, that was totally meant for you. So you know how you had that thought and your actual podcast is, the is manifesting bullshit. Do you believe that you manifested your life like, and how it all came about in a way?
I do. I feel like everything I do is very intentional. And anything I do, if anybody ever researches me, including yourself, and you see what I do, everything I do is acts of service. Everything is acts of service. And it's just what's in my heart. And I too did not know how to start a nonprofit. I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out. I figured it out. And that's what all of us can do. All of us can take that one step towards something that we're, going through or growing through. We can, make our dreams come true. We just have to figure out what we want and then put the action behind it to actually get to that place.
Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with that action aspect, right? Like a lot of us have thoughts and we're like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna do this and that." And then after they're like, it's too hard. I'm not gonna do it. You know? Like,
Yes, and that's why I'm an action mastery coach. I actually teach people how to take action because that's the hardest thing. You can give everybody the best advice, you can give them the best PDF, you can give them all the instructions, but a lot of time it dies there. It could be because they're afraid of something, it could be because they don't know what to do. But I always teach people to think in ink. If you take your thoughts and put them into writing, and you think in ink, then you can really figure out where you're going, what you want, and essentially build a roadmap for exactly how to get there. And so everything in my life is very intentional.
wow, that's amazing. Thinking ink. That's amazing. How did you come up with that thought process? Is it something again like you just like kind of downloaded into your mind? You're like, oh, this is it.
Well, actually, not really. So back in a long time ago, as I told you, I was, a single mom and I was doing all these things and I was working. I got that. I had a custom house built for me and my daughters. But at the time, I didn't see how much I had achieved. I really felt down on myself, like I wasn't doing enough, and I wasn't. Why wasn't I getting further, and why wasn't I doing more? And when I listened to Think and Grow Rich, the Audible version of it, and really I realized that it's all about gratitude and being grateful for what you already have. Once I really realized that and I looked around, I was like, wait a second, I'm a single mom here. I escaped this domestic violence situation. I have this fantastic job. I've been working here for several years now, and I have a custom house built. I have a car I paid for cash, even though it's not the best. But I was doing things and I hadn't even realized how much I had accomplished. So once I started thinking in gratitude and then realized that whole concept of you have to write it down because it helps you organize the thoughts. Sometimes we have a thought of something and we get stuck on step one and we just spin and thinking about step one, step one, step one. But once you can think in ink and you can get that step one out of your mind and onto paper, then your mind can move on to step two. And then when you get that out onto paper, then your mind can move to step three. So all of this is all concepts I learned from Think and Grow Rich back in the day because I was desperate to move forward and do something else. And that's how I first started to learn about manifesting. And that's how I started to make sure my life was in alignment with what I really, really, truly wanted in my life.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. I love that so much. That is so powerful. But if you think about it, it's not such a it's not such a complicated concept that, thing in ink where you do to put, you put down your first thought and then you write it down in a second. Like, you're right. We always do just contemplate and just keep thinking about just that one thing. And then you get stuck and then it may be fear or something that's holding you back from moving forward. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. That is so amazing and that's such a great tool that I want to definitely implement and try too because I have so many other things that I want to do in life, but again, you're stuck on that, that
Yes, get on step one. So I think I always recommend to everybody that if you can write right before you go to bed, write down what your thoughts are, what you want to do, write down something. Then whenever you're sleeping and your body's in rest mode, your brain has all this time, right? It's like just there, like, okay, right? Trying to rest, but it will actually start to put those thoughts into action. And the next thing you know, you wake up in the morning and you write down another thing. And then now your brain's thinking all day about that thing you wrote. And then before bed, you write again. And now your brain, while it's at rest, is thinking, all right, now we're on step three. All right, now we're on step four. And so, like I said earlier, when you're just stuck in step one and you're just trying to get step one perfect in your mind, you never will because we have so much outside stimulation happening all the time where your phone might ring or you might get an email or you might have a podcast recording or family member might call. So then your step one gets on pause. And so you're constantly pausing and unpausing your brain and you're not really being able to focus on that step one. So if you can just get it out, then your brain can start on step two and so on. So definitely recommend 2 or 3 minutes before bed. And then when you wake up first thing in the morning, write down 2 or 3 minutes again, even if it's just babble at first. Even if you're just talking about what your day's going to be like or what you want or what you're grateful for, your mind will start getting used to it and it can help you start to get that blueprint formed on paper.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And also when you write it down on paper, I feel like manifestation happens easier too for you too because you're intentional. Like, the universe knows exactly what you want because you're like writing it down and the more you write down what you truly want, then the universe is like, okay, I see that. I'm getting clearer and clearer of what you want. And then they'll start bringing that to you.
Yeah, just like if you think about it, if you get into your car and you say, I want to go to a Mexican restaurant, and you don't put it in GPS and you don't put it in reverse and you don't put the car, you don't do anything, well, then you're mad, right? Like, why am I not at the Mexican restaurant? Well, you're not there because you didn't tell the car what you need to do. You didn't tell GPS that you need the directions. You didn't tell it where you want to go, so you don't have directions. So instead, you're just sitting in your car being mad that nothing's happening. So same thing with your mind. You have to learn where you want to go so that your mind can help you get the directions to get you to where you want to, or the goals that you want to achieve.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh, that's amazing. That's so true. That's such a good example because exactly, you are the driver of the car and it's gonna go only the way you're gonna start it, you're gonna, direct it, etc., just like your
You
mind.
gotta take action.
Yes, taking action. I think that's yeah, the hardest part again. But with manifesting though, I want to dive a little bit deeper about manifestation. And since your podcast is, is manifesting bullshit, how did you even come about with doing a podcast about that?
Yeah, so that's a funny story. Actually, I had written two books before. So one was Shattering the Stigma of Single Motherhood. Then I wrote Overcoming Self-Sabotage. And those are books I co-authored. They were anthologies. So much fun. But one day I was on the phone with my daughter Kimberly, and I have six kids. So the oldest daughter's 26 and the second one's 24. And we were all on a call one day together. We were just chatting, and my daughter Kimberly was like, Mom, we should write a book together. I was like, yeah, you want to? Yeah, we could do that. I said, I could give my publisher and we could do that. We can make it happen. What would it be about? And she was like, oh, let's do it about manifesting. So we had picked out a different name, and that name was already taken. So then we went back and forth on what name, and we all exchanged in a group text what names.
Mhm.
And I was like, what our first question when we first heard about manifesting was, is that bullshit? So that's what we ended up naming the book. So the book is an international bestseller, and it also got the International Impact Award, the International Impact Book Award, for being an amazing book, right? So that was all about is manifesting bullshit. And we wrote it together. So it's a mommy-daughter trio collaboration. And throughout that course of us starting the writing process, writing the book, and then start, selling it, people would always ask, well, is it? Well, is it? Like, is it bullshit? And I would always joke and say, oh, you have to, read the book to find out.
Yeah.
Well, then one day I was driving to work and I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could interview people from around the world about manifesting, whether they're skeptics or critics, or they believe it, or they have a story about manifesting? That would be so fun. And so I went home that night and I started the trailer and I started the podcast.
Love
That's how it started.
it. That's amazing. Yeah, you are right. You do everything intentionally. And
Action.
I feel like you get these downloads from like the universe or whatever, like for you to really move the needle in your life and to change the world because you are here to change the world, like to for the better.
We
With
all
all your
are.
yeah, with all your knowledge and all your skills and you are at a level where you're a great example of where you can be, and you have that story and you have that drive to back it up and to, really motivate people because even talking to you right now, you're already motivating me to like finish my book and then try to like, actually take action and not just like contemplate.
Yeah, take action. That's the whole thing is sometimes we're scared of what's on the other side of that step. And sometimes if you just write down what it is that you want to do, and then just write like a V on top of it and write what's the worst thing that could happen, and then what's the best thing that can happen, right? On that top of that V. Well, guess what? You'll find out most of the time that the thing that you're afraid of isn't a thing at all. 90% of the time you're afraid of something that probably will never happen. And so you just take action and just do it, like Nike says.
Oh, wow. Oh, thank you. Yes, I totally need to do that exercise. You already gave us like five amazing tools and exercises. So if you guys are not listening, like you guys better re-listen to this so you can catch the nuggets of, what Cindy has been saying because these tools are so powerful and you use them yourself. And look, now you have your own TV show. How did your TV show come about too? I would love to know how that came about.
That's another funny story. So back a long time ago, when I first started the nonprofit, I realized right after I started it that now they wanted to do news interviews. They want to do podcast interviews. People want me to talk to them. I have to go and get, money. I have to get people to donate. But I found out I have a fear of public speaking.
Wow, I would
So
have
it
never
was
known.
terrible. I have this fear of public speaking. So in September of 2022, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to just start saying yes. Like I was going to overcome this fear. I was just going to start saying yes. Well, in very short order, I ended up writing that first book. And then I was asked to write the second book. So I said yes to that one. And then then Kimberly, my daughter, was like, Mom, we should do the third book. So in the course of that, after I did my second book, the publisher came to me and said, hey, we're starting our own network. We would love to have you as a TV show host. I'm like, ha! Oh my gosh, find somebody else. I have a fear of public speaking. You've got to be out of your mind. Like, I don't know anything about TV. I don't know anything about being a host. I hate speaking in the camera. I hate public speaking. Like, this is not going to happen. There's no way. So then they said, okay, so then they came back to me and said, well, what if we let you pick the name of your show? What if we let you pick what your show's about? What if we let you pick your guest on the show? What if we let you pick when it airs? What if we let you pick everything to do with the show? Would you do it then? Well, then there you go. They removed all the obstacles, and I had made this commitment to myself that I was going to just say yes to everything. So I started to think, what if?
Yeah.
What if I was a TV show host? What if I could do that? Could I do that? If I did that, what would make it worth it for me to get in front of that camera every week? What would make me feel like it was worth every second I spend doing something that scares me? And so I thought and thought and thought about it. I thought, I know what it would be. It would be little give. If I could highlight ordinary people doing extraordinary things to help others, if I could spread the news, good news, because there's so much bad news out there, if I could spread the news that each and every one of us have it inside of us to do something different, to do something better, that we all have a greater purpose and that the powers within us, that, that, my friend, would be worth it. So that's what I did. I reached out to them the next day after I had the idea at dinner again. I just need to eat all the time so I could just
Yeah.
so at dinner, I came up with it. I was like, little give with Cindy, that's what it's going to be. So I let them know. And sure enough, I built the show out. I've been hosting that show for over a year now, and it's been such a blessing. I've met so many nonprofit founders who are just like me, who are not extraordinary people. They're just ordinary people who saw a need and found a way to meet it and met it and did the work and put the action in and set the goals and intentions, and they're just like me. So it's awesome because I get to highlight these people from around the world. And the show airs in 127 countries, and it has a viewership of over 30 million potential viewers. So it's got quite the broad reach, and I'm able to help highlight these nonprofits so they don't have to spend their marketing budget on PR. They could just come on my show for free and still highlight good news and spread kindness and show the world that each and every one of us can do a little thing in our day, every day, that can make a big ripple effect of goodness in this world.
Aw, thank you for doing that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's
Oh my
fun.
gosh.
It's a
So,
lot of fun.
yeah, it sounds like amazing and so much fun. And you give people space to really just talk about what they're doing, and it just helps everybody. And I loved how you said you use what if questions too to get you out of that, scared part of, being in fear. And what if questions, I think, is a powerful tool to kind of let your ego mind quiet itself, because, we always say, what if, like, always negative, but you're saying, what if, like, I can do good things? Like, what if this can be amazing thing? And then it did happen, right? Like, now your show is all about doing good, and you love it, and it's
Love it.
what brings you joy. And another part, what I love is that you mentioned is that you want to spread so much joy and positivity. And I totally believe that because, I believe that there's like 50% negative stuff in this world and 50% positive, but our world is always so in tune to the negative, And so
Yeah.
when you're
Bad news sells.
right, negative sells. Like, that's why when you watch the news, like, I know now when I watch the news, it literally puts me in a bad mood, and I don't want to. Like, yes, I care about current events, but is it putting myself in a good, positive view? No, So it's like, I want to be in a good space. Like, I rather put on your show or something that like gives back or makes me cheerful. And I want a lot of other people to do that too. And if the world actually starts looking at, or viewing life more happily, I feel like people would be more happier. But I feel like most of us is always looking at the negatives. And that's
Hmm.
why most of us is surrounded by negativity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you could just think in gratitude all the time. It's really hard to be mad or upset about anything whenever you're in an attitude of gratitude. It's almost impossible. You got a smile on your face, you're in an attitude of gratitude, you're grateful for everything, whether it be something good or bad that happens. I'm a big believer that there's no win or lose, there's either win or learn. So there's really not much negative that you need to pay attention to. And in fact, I think it's bad for your brain, I think it's bad for your body, and I don't think it's very good for the people around you. So definitely be in an attitude of gratitude and think and eat, and it will propel your life so much faster than it would if you stay spinning.
Yeah.
Loading.
Yeah, that is so true. That's exactly correct. And I felt like that happened in my life too, like when I stuck around going through infertility, I was just like not doing much in my everyday life to empower myself. I was like literally crying every day, and then just taking pregnancy tests every month to get negative test results. So I was thinking about it. And then, like, the year when I was so sick of being infertile, I took action. And then that just propelled my life into at an exponential rate, like just by doing actions like changing my diet, like seeing doctors, etc., you know? And then, like, after a whole year of doing that, I got pregnant naturally with my kid now. So it's like we're both examples that if you just take that action, it will come. So it's just beautiful.
Exactly. Exactly. You may not be able to control everything around you, but you can certainly control you. So if you're experiencing a situation that's not favorable to you, look at yourself and think about how can I make this situation better instead of if somebody would stop this and somebody would do that and this would happen and that would happen outside of you. Once you really turn your eyes on yourself and really start to see that the power's within you and it's been there the whole time, it's so much easier.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly why I wanted you to come on, because my podcast is Ignite Your Power. You're literally teaching people how to ignite their power. And thank you for that.
Of
And
course.
another question, my last question, I know I don't want to take a lot of your time, but you have 6 kids. How do you do it? So a lot of moms out there, want to have a career, but then they're scared, or then, like, they feel like they have mom guilt, etc. Because I have it too. When I first started my business for the whole year, I had mom guilt. I was like, man, I'm not spending time with my kid and I wanted her so badly and now she's here and then now I'm like worried about my business. But you're a pure example of how you can do it all, and you even made a book with your daughters, like, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's all about time management. I think that whenever you're in a position to where you're everything that you do, like I think for a long time I was searching for what was right for me. And so I was pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to get to the next level. But once I realized that my passion, once I figured out what my passion was, now my passion pushes me. So like the energy level is there. And then the time management is so important. Like people ask me all the time, Cindy, you have your own business, you have all of these things going on, you do all these things. You have 6 kids, you have 3 grandkids, one on the way, and I'm a beekeeper. So all of these things you do, how do you do that? And I tell them all the time, I schedule every single thing, everything. I make sure everything has its time and its place. And in addition to that, I have date night with my husband 3 nights a week. Three
Oh.
nights every week, and we spend time together, and that's so important to me. And that's without me being on my devices. That's without, he also owns his own business, so we have all of these things going on all the time. But both of us are very intentional with our time, and I think that when you have something you're very passionate about, as long as you can make sure that you have boundaries and you schedule things in a way that where it's not affecting your family, but you're still able to fill your cup too. I think that's whenever things really line in place, and then you're able to have the energy and the power to do all of the things that you desire if you wish to.
Oh, wow. That is so good. So, yeah, you can do it all. You're the example of you can do it all. You just have to have time management. You have to have that power and take action. Oh, that's
Boundaries.
so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that. But before I end, I always ask or talk about my concept, the bliss off life. I don't know if you've heard about it, but I call it the BS life. And it's not living like the bullshit life that you know. It's about living like in your power, knowing you're this powerful, amazing being, so you can manifest the life that you want. So your life is so blissful, it's so soft where, you live life not doing the things that you're not meant to, right? You're living in alignment. You're just so happy, content. And I just feel like you're the pure example of the bliss off life, which is so beautiful to see. So thank you for being that.
Thank
Um,
you.
do you believe that you are living a bliss off life where you are in your power and you feel like you're living in alignment with, what you truly feel like you're meant to do on this lifetime right now?
I do, but I also know that this isn't it for me. I'm going through and growing through something every single day. I'm never going to be perfect. Things are not always going to be right. Things are not always going to work out the way that I want them to. And so I know that the version that I am right now, this minute while I'm having this conversation with you, is going to change. And that's beautiful too.
That is so beautiful, and you're right. And you're just gonna keep bettering yourself. You're gonna keep, building and being exponential and getting better which is so beautiful to see and be a part of. And I'm just so excited to see what else you do. And last but not least, before we end, where can people find you or know more about you?
You can find me on my website at cfviews.com. You can find me anywhere online. I'm usually on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok too. You can find me anywhere that really you want to find me online. If you want to buy any of my books, you can also find that on my website. I have a new release that the book came out this month, and it's called Beyond the Smile. And really, it's to show like a little bit of what we talked about today, which is it's not always perfect, and there's a lot that goes on. And you often see people with a big, beautiful smile on and they look like everything's perfect, but there's always something going on in the background. And that's really what that's about. So if you want to know more about that book or any of my other ones, you can just Google Cindy Witteman or look me up on Amazon under Cindy Witteman. You'll find all my books there, or you can always go to my website at cfviews.com and you'll be able to find everything I'm about, including my new magazine, which is called Force Magazine.
Wow, amazing. And in general, I will ask you for all those links and put it in the description below in this episode. Thank you again, Cindy, for your time. And it was so wonderful to hear your story of empowerment, igniting your power. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. You have a wonderful day, and thank you everybody out there who's listening.
You too. Bye.